Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As for a moment of silence, please. I want to thank everybody that attended today. Everybody's watching or will be watching. I'll start with a roll call. Today I'm going to start with Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
Commissioner Cos.
Here.
I'm here, and Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
All right. Public comment. I don't believe there was any. Mark? I didn't. Okay. Okay, we'll move to administrative business then. Mark, I'll turn this over to you.
Well, Commissioners, last week Commissioner Smith had asked that we bring back the agreement for ARPA funds for their 155th Street project. Previously, the board had given us direction. The county councilor had drafted an agreement and sent to Baser, and there was some of the language in there that they did not agree with. However, at the staff level, we're not allowed to renegotiate that. So that is why it's on your agenda today.
Okay. That's the attorney for City Baser.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Thank you.
What is the, if we can go through this, what is the things that have been taken out or added that we can speak on? David, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I believe you're familiar with the proposed agreement that was sent to Baser. It essentially deals with three separate topics, however we believe they're interrelated. First was the request by the City of Baser that the county contribute to what's referred to the 155th Street project. Presentation was made by the city to you, and at that time the board felt it was a worthwhile project. It would be beneficial to the overall economy of the county, and the county committed $2 million to that project. In preparing the agreement with the City of Baser, we looked at some other outstanding issues, we believe, with the City of Baser, and that would be, first of all, future connection fees with respect to the Ginger Creek subdivision connection to the Baser wastewater treatment program, and the third would be the maintenance of streets that are currently maintained by the county but either run within or adjacent to the City of Baser. Those two issues were melded into the agreement for 155th Street. They are almost separate components, so I'd liken it to a component in an electronic system. If you wanted to unplug it and pull it out, it doesn't shut the entire system down. However, since we were in discussions with the City of Baser regarding that contribution, it was felt that it was timely to bring those two other issues forward as well. And a short synopsis, and the city would prefer to deal with those three issues separately.
Okay.
I agree with the city on this. I mean, we're asking, when we're doing the Ginger Creek, we're asking the city to take a county sewer district. I think at that time we can negotiate whatever needs to be negotiated at that time. But this is the county Route 7. It's the county's road that runs through the city of Baser. Baser has secured $7.4 million in MARC funds, and they're going to be contributing also. And I'm sure we have a choice on what we pay on this road right now. We can pay $2 million, or if this project goes away, we're going to pay the whole thing someday. When they say, KDOT says, you got to fix this road. It runs by the high school. This project is long overdue. So I think that all these others need to be dealt with separately, and the 155th Street project should be what we're dealing with.
Let me ask a question, just to make sure I understand. On the maintenance of the street, it was always my understanding that the city would take over that. Is Is that as part of the agreement, or is that separate now?
In Section 4...
I tried to read it in legal terms, but you attorneys like it's kind of different, so I wanted to hear it from you, David.
Well, I believe Basher should take over the maintenance of the street once it's done.
Okay.
Absolutely. Of
And that was the third thing you mentioned.
155th Street. Yeah, because that's kind of what we do with every other city.
Right. In Lansing also.
Actually, Commissioner, the way the agreement was drafted and approved for submission to the City of Basehor, it reads as follows. Prior to the release by the county of funding for 155th Street, the city and county would enter into a separate agreement for the maintenance of those streets lying within or bordering the boundaries of the city. So it was contemplated that there would be additional discussions with respect to the street maintenance issue because each street might be considered differently with respect to the maintenance issues.
Well, I agree. They would be considered differently because, like Leavenworth Road, that's County Road 36. Parallel Road is County Road 35. And these are county routes. So we're still responsible for them no matter what. You know, if we want to do a white line to white line interlocal agreement or a MOU or something like that, I can see that. But as far as the other streets, we don't have very many that don't have a county route that are actual county routes that are our responsibility anyways. Basehor's a long ways from going to a city of the first class. And that's when that would be where we could turn them over.
Yeah. What I guess my question is, but 155th would be turned over to the city.
In my opinion, it should be, yes.
There's
no different than what we did with Eisenhower.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
That one, Doug.
Upon the
David.
completion of the project, the city would assume full responsibility for the road.
Okay, great. Okay, other discussion?
I usually don't disagree with Commissioner Smith very often, but in this case, I think it would be a bad idea to separate these. I think now is the time to talk about these other costs because I don't think we're being unreasonable at all, giving them $2 million and asking to address some of these unrealized costs. I mean, these costs aren't really out of their pocket. These are costs that they're not going to actually incur, out of pocket. They're just unrealized costs. So I think if we're going to give them $2 million in trade, I think it makes sense to waive some of these other issues, these other fees.
Well, I for sure don't want to see another Glenwood Estates happen, where the folks in Glenwood Estates ended up paying for a larger sewer line for future development. There hasn't been any future development on that.
That's true, too.
Paying with that. But at the same time, I think that the county created this sewer district, and now we're going to ask Basehor to take it over.
Well, the county didn't actually create it. We got it done through the lab.
We allowed it to be created,
Yeah.
and we allowed to take it over and run it. And the folks inside of there, they pay the assessments toward it. But if Basehor says, if KDHE says, hey, you got to close your lagoons, and Basehor says, hey, we can't take you, what are we going to do? Build more lagoons, clean these out?
Yeah.
But I'm sure when the time comes that Basehor and the county can sit down and come up with a reasonable.
Well, I think the
agreement.
leverage is now. I think once you do that, there's no leverage. So, and I don't think it's unreasonable at all, since it's not really cost out
That's
of the
not painting a
pocket.
real good image of our relationship here with the cities.
I think handing them $2 million is a pretty good relationship.
Well, I think them going to eventually take over Ginger Creek to their sewer system, which they're spending a lot of money this year on their sewer upgrades, just for allowance for stuff like this.
Mike, do you have something?
I just had a question. What was the objection of your city council on these specific issues? What was the, it seems like the Ginger Creek issue would be future monies. It wouldn't be monies directly coming out of your pocket at this time. What was the council's objection? It doesn't seem like, we allotted $2.5 million for matching to cities across the county, and we're designating $2 million potentially to Basehor of that. That's the vast bulk of those funds, and this is money that we receive from ARPA from the federal government and that we're now granting to you. It doesn't seem like the folks that are giving the grant are kind of in the driver's seat when it comes to what the requirements and the rules are. So when your mayor came in and met with us, it seemed like he was agreeable to these items. So what is the objection by your council?
For the record, Pete Heaven, Interim City Attorney, Baser. Thank you for having me this morning. It's a matter of prematurity, I think, Commissioner. We have the Sewer District 5 expansion on our 2020 sewer plan. The costs have not been determined, but they're estimated to be almost $4 million. So from the city's standpoint, until we have a better feel for what it's actually going to cost the city, we'd rather not commit ourselves to doing something that may not be necessary, because we haven't had the study done yet.
But if it doesn't happen, then you're not required to pay the fees, right?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Well, isn't that
The county's not asking the city to pay for the sewer project when the time comes. That's part of the Ginger Creek sewer project. What the county is asking is the waiver of the connection fees when and if that happens. And I think we've had experience with the Glenwood Ridge. I think that Commissioner Smith was referring to. If that project goes through, that the city's talking about an interceptor that would run down. I think it picks up like 800 acres of area. That would be a city project. The connection to that project would be the responsibility of Sewer District 5. We're just asking that they waive that connection fee at that time.
And that's all future expenditure, so we're not really obligating you. I mean, I just don't see what the problem is when we're offering to give you $2 million.
Well, and from the city's perspective, we're looking at this as a combined agreement that in return for $2 million, we're going to pay $4 million. I mean, to be very blunt.
Well, that's only assuming that happens.
Mark, how do we get to that $4 million?
I would totally disagree with that. I don't think our agreement implicates them to or obligates them to complete a future sewer pipe in any way, shape, or form. We're just saying that when the time comes when we connect, we would like those connection fees waived. We're not asking them.
The engineer's estimate is what, $11 million on this project? It's $11 million. Baser's already secured $7.4 million. It's a county road that we're responsible for, so basically, Baser's giving the lion's share of the money toward this.
David, do you have some?
Commissioner, just for the record, the actual language for the agreement regarding Ginger Creek reads as follows: at such time as the county connects the sewer district number 5 to the city facilities, which is planned at such time in the future, the city agrees to waive all connection fees. Now, in a sewer project, I would break the cost down into two components. There would be a connection fee, which is the same you would pay if you built a house in the city of Baser and you hooked into their wastewater system. With respect to improvements for a sewer district, there's a separate capital assessment, which is separate from a connection fee, and that's their contribution to the actual physical infrastructure that would connect them to the Baser wastewater treatment system. In my mind, the language does not require the city of Baser to do anything at this time, and quite frankly, it would be improper for us to try to order the city of Baser to, for us to control their own internal development. However, it basically says that when that time comes in the future, the city would agree to waive connection fees. I'd like to say something else too. When I drafted this agreement, it was not my understanding it was kind of a take it or leave it. The city has a good relationship with the county and vice versa. So this was an attempt to resolve 3 issues since one was on the table.
Well, let me ask this. We got to $2 million, and I definitely have noticed over the years that certain cities, no disrespect to them, have received a lot more funding than other cities. So I'm on board with it, and I definitely like to see the city of Baser take over that road, and it definitely needs to be improved. With that being said, is there any room for negotiation on this if we're going to be pulling that out? I mean, is the $2 million the locked in? And I'm just throwing this out there, commissioners. Is the $2 million locked in? Would people feel more comfortable with a 1.5 and then going, or what? What's the feeling on the? I'm just throwing it out
We
there.
already committed $2 million.
Well, and Doug, I'm kind of on the same page. I'm saying the relationship between the county and the city is to keep that above board and working with each other. I think it just makes sense what we're offering.
And if this was any other project but a county road, it's a county route,
But it's
we're
in the city
responsible
limits.
for it.
But
It's in the city.
it's in the
It's
city
our
limits.
responsibility, though.
In
The city has no responsibility of it for the maintenance of it.
but it's in the city limits. It's not.
Understand
We're not
it.
talking about
And
outside.
we're trying
the
to
city.
get rid of it,
Right.
so they will have the responsibility.
Right. I just don't think it's unreasonable at all what we're asking. I think it's unreasonable not cooperating at this level. Is the way I
All the
feel.
ones I've seen in the past have been done down south and things like that, especially Lansing took over a lot years that the negotiation was the county would improve it, McIntyre, like that, then the city would take it over. I don't remember any other outside area. Now, if we're not careful here, folks, and we don't come to some agreement, we're going to ruin a good thing. So we really need to put our thinking hats on how we want to accomplish this. Mike?
My thinking is that we should not try to negotiate this here. If there's going to be a change to this agreement materially, we should have our staff visit with the attorney and then come back to us with the material changes. I think trying for us to hammer this out here at a county commission meeting, I think that's pretty difficult. And my preference would be, when the mayor was here, I thought we had reached an arrangement, and we definitely had given you the bulk of the ARPA funding to match your funding. I think it was more than fair.
It was.
And so if we're going to renegotiate these things or try to split half a loaf, probably our attorney and the county administrator. I mean,
What's the timeline on this?
Pretty time sensitive.
I know, but
How-
we have
how
a couple
time
of weeks
sensitive?
or David?
Commissioners, I would hate to see any delay that cause those ARPA funds to go back to the ARPA pool.
Yeah.
Those are our tax dollars coming back to us.
Yeah.
They didn't come out of thin air. We've already paid it. Let's try to get as much as we can back. If you would like, we could meet and possibly try to have some discussion that would produce a result either next week or the following week, but I would suggest that it be put on a pretty tight schedule.
Well, I think we could make that work. I think taking the vote today, it'd be close, and I really want to see Baser taken care of. So I would ask the governing body to let this go back with a week deadline or 10 days. Commissioners?
I think it needs to be a week.
Okay,
They
I'm-
got some deadlines they got to meet on
I have no
this
problem with that.
funding and getting a KDOT.
Yeah, I agree, Doug. Is any commissioner have any problem with that? Vicki? Jeff? Mike? I don't. Mark, can we make that happen?
Well, I think that Baser has presented their proposal. I'm not clear what the commission believes we're allowed to
We need to
negotiate.
renegotiate the.
Because the direction we had from the board was the proposal that we saw.
I know it was, Mark.
Baser has presented their counter to that proposal.
And now we're countering.
And-
So we need.
But I
we
don't know
need-
what authority you're granting me to
What I want you to
negotiate.
do, what I want you to do is you and the attorney, 'cause I don't like meeting with attorneys. Let the attorneys get together.
We love attorneys.
And then see if there's some middle ground that we can do, whether it's amount of money, whether it's connection fee. I think there, and if there isn't, in a week you come back and tell there isn't.
Okay.
Marching orders.
I
Commissioners,
just
are
don't
okay?
want, I don't want to go against my previous direction from the board.
No, we're
I
saying
wanna
we
make
want
sure
you to
that
talk to them.
Okay. All right.
Well, and I think a little bit of pressure would be that you'd rather get 3/4 of a loaf than no loaf.
Absolutely.
So
We'll
And
make
we don't want to take the loaf back, so let's get together.
we
and
can't
see what
eat any
we can
more
do.
loaves.
Yeah, we don't want to spend $15 million
We're not
for a
taking the
road
load
map
back.
to fix a county road when he's already offered.
Okay, we got direction on that one. Mark, we good?
Yep.
Sir, we good?
Yes,
Baser,
thank
we
you.
good? Mayor, good to see you back there, sir. Former mayor. I still call him mayor.
We'll always call you mayor.
Okay, Mark, what else to do?
Since we're talking about ARPA funds, I think that one of the things that we're going to run into, which was just brought up, is deadlines on these. And what I'd like to see is that any of the funds that are not going to be used on county projects like this one or any of the other city projects, that we put a deadline on when those agreements are
I agree.
completed, so that then I can direct our staff to get engaged in getting projects designed so the money won't.
And the one, you're absolutely, the one with Lansing, that the base grant, which people out in Salina were livid how that was, I can tell you how they had broken down, how selected cities got something, they didn't spread that wealth off anywhere thing. I'm meeting with them to see about, that there's a project, since that one didn't come in, and that's $500,000. So I'll get you an answer quick, but it'd be nice to have a deadline on when you need that too, Mark.
I would like to say that July 1 of this year
That's
would
fine.
be our deadline.
Okay.
That any agreements that we're going to
Commissioner, y'all okay with that?
into the July 1 would be that.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great.
And just a note, of the 2.5, we really don't have 500,000 left. We have 450,000 left. I mean,
Well-
unless we come up with juggle money around, but that's.
Donkey owes us money.
We might be
so
making
I'll
a
send
lot
you
of
a bill.
interest on this money with the interest rate right now.
Going up.
It is. As
So-
we speak.
But I hear what you're saying. I mean,
I'm trying to work with you, Mike. Settle down over there. Okay, what else, Mark? We got something else?
I think that Commissioner Stephen, did you have an item about?
I do have one item that I need. I guess I need. I talked to Bill and I talked to DVP about it, or Mr. Van Paris about it. Tonight there's a meeting with the KDOT, and there's a reroute on George Road that we're hoping that if we could get. They're going to be talking about the closing of Highway 16 between Tongi and McLeod. But we were talking about the reroute of traffic, and George Road is going to be a real problem. And what come up with from Bill and our attorney is if we could have a resolution today, and I can go to the meeting tonight and tell them that we would like the George Road to be closed to through traffic, and they'll draft a resolution for that in the future. But we would like to, if we pass a resolution today, we'll propose that to KDOT, and we're asking that they include that in their signage plan so that they will maintain the signage for the closure on George Road rather than the county having to maintain the signage. And they said that we need to formally pass it as a.
So they're not proposing to detour traffic down that road. It's just that by nature, that's the road.
They don't have to propose it.
Right.
It's just going to happen. So what we would,
Yeah.
what was discussed is the potential of having them maintain signage on there that says road closed to through traffic, so that the local folks will know they can still get through there, but we won't get the increase of traffic that's just trying to pass through. That road is
Hopefully.
I don't see a problem in
Make
it.
your
that road's
motion,
not
I'll
really
second.
designed to handle that kind of volume.
Okay. So the motion should, David, can you help me with how the motion should be?
Commissioners, in discussion with Mr. Bill Noel, one of the concerns he had was that I'll call it through traffic signs have a history of disappearing. They end up in the ditch, they end up in the back of somebody's truck, and the county, Bill's concern is that the county would begin to expend funds replacing those signs. If the county were to basically close that road to through traffic earlier, before a certain date, those signs would become the responsibility of KDOT as part of the project. At least that's what Bill's belief is. So it's really twofold. There are two advantages. One is to protect the people along George Road from just a horrific increase in the amount of traffic, to include semi-trailers. And the second would be to reduce the burden to the county to have those signs put up.
And I do have the motion written as you wrote it. I move that the board reach consensus that at the appropriate time the board will adopt an order closing George Road to through traffic and place the appropriate signage. Further, that KDOT be informed of the proposed action by the board and be asked to include such signage in their signage plan.
I'll second that.
Motion second. Any more discussion? Makes sense. Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Ducksmith?
Aye.
Okay.
You're going to the meeting tonight?
I am. I will not.
I'll be at church praying for you tonight while you're at the meeting at the bar.
To be clear, we did not choose the location of the meeting. This is Cada.
I've been, 40 years ago today, I started at the county, and I've never been to a meeting at a bar.
Well,
They might get more accomplished.
I just will say that us teetotalers will not be having a problem tonight.
Well, honestly, they may get it signed. They may get more accomplished there than they would anywhere else. Mark, you have anything else? Okay. Commissioners, y'all have anything?
I had one thing.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So the county FEMA buyout lot that we had talked about previously, we need to ask the counselor to publish that for
I would ask that you
Brent.
approve that since I sent it to the Leavenworth Times about an hour ago.
Okay.
police.
All right.
You don't need a motion, right? Just a
Now,
direction.
just to inform you, the county had previously been presented with a proposal from an adjoining property owner to rent out or lease, approximately 5-acre tract adjoining his property.
Yeah.
Currently, it's being unused, and it's unfortunately being
Abused.
as a dumping ground. And the adjoining property owner's proposal is that he would lease it, farm it, and keep the property clean. The suggestion is that we advertise it for proposals and see who gives you the highest and best offer, and that matter would be addressed on May 18th.
And while we're at it, could we direct staff to place 2 no dumping signs out there, the shop sign folks? I think that would help a lot.
The fine on it?
Yeah.
What's the fine? What is the fine for dumping?
5,000 or
The
something.
5,000?
500.
Ours is
Can't remember.
1,000.
75,000.
Okay. We can get that taken care of. It looks like everybody's okay with that. Jeff, do you have anything?
That's it.
Vicky, do you have anything? Doug, do you have anything on this thing? Mike?
I just have one thing. I just want to mention that I've gotten a few calls from a couple constituents about the issue, the Roe versus Wade and the abortion issue, and I just tell you, it's not a county issue, it's not a local issue, but there are a couple things we've done. We passed a proclamation supporting crisis pregnancy centers as a commission, and we support helping women that are in crisis, and I think in our role with very many of the nonprofits, that's a role that the county has served. And also we appointed Greg Beck to be on the nominating commission for the 1st Judicial District, very pro-life, appointing pro-life judges. So those are things we can do on a local level, and we'll do whatever we can to stop this that's been going on all these years.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there any item that needs to be pulled? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Voting aye. Commissioner Ducksmith?
Aye.
Moving on to formal board action. Consider a motion to approve the agreement with St. Luke's Hospital for the purchase of 2 lots of future parking at the Cushing Building.
Commissioners, as you know, we are remodeling Cushing Hospital right now for the Council on Aging and a few other entities, as well as a private business up on the 3rd floor. And with that, we realize that while that was a hospital all along and there was always parking, that if we have the opportunity, we'd like to address some of those parking issues. We applied for a grant through the state that would allow us to build additional parking for the Council on Aging, Meals on Wheels specifically, I think, and their transportation vehicles. So we're looking at options. St. Luke's, who currently owns these 2 lots, they're unused. I approached them. They have offered them to us at what I believe is reasonable given the current environment for pricing, and I would like permission and authorization from the Board of County Commissioners to proceed with that purchase.
Commissioners?
I don't have a problem with it.
I think it's needed.
I mean, we need to do it. I mean, we're going to do
Especially
the
that
space.
price.
They quit making ground a long time ago. It's up for sale, you better buy it.
Especially a price like this. Okay, can I get a motion?
I move that the commission direct or work with, have Mr. Lawfrey negotiate pricing for the 2 lots adjacent to the Cushing.
Commissioner Collins, if I might
15,000, isn't it?
suggest,
Yeah.
perhaps the most expedient motion would be to authorize the county administrator to execute an agreement with St. Luke's Hospital for the purchase of the identified property.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Okay, is that going to be up to 15,000? Is that what we're looking at, Mark?
Yeah, I think there may be some filing fees and whatnot, so,
You just want to leave it open then?
Well, no, if you want to just say no more than 17,000, that should cover any filing.
I'll amend my motion to include not to exceed
Okay,
$17,000.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any discussion? That's a good plan to me. Commissioner Steedman?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
I'm voting aye. Commissioner Ducksmith?
Aye.
All right, very good. Okay, consider a motion to approve Resolution 2022-9, a special use permit for a private training facility, can't even pronounce that, wonderful Wonderland Farms. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. How are you?
We're wonderful.
Alrighty. Commissioners, this is a request to approve Resolution 2022-09. This is a request for a special use permit to operate a private equine training facility for Wonderland Farms at 16735 McIntyre Road. The folks who would like to operate this business, they have an indoor and an outdoor arena. They have a stable. This is to do pretty specified equine training. It's dressage training, which is a type of training for horses, obviously. But they also are training the owners of those horses to do the appropriate acts with these horses. Their hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The owners are, of course, welcome to the property at any time if they need to be there for the horses, obviously. The applicants are here. We'll answer any questions that you may have. The Planning Commission voted 9-0 to recommend approval of this. Staff is also supportive.
I'd been out by the facility.
It's nice.
It's very nice. The facility's off the road a long way,
Yep.
so there's not going to be any traffic problems with horse trailers backed up or anything. They've got plenty of space. It's a really nice location.
I agree.
And the neighborhood, that's what they wanted in that neighborhood. They wanted large tracts, ag, they wanted that. So I'd say this is a good fit for this neighborhood.
I agree with that.
It's hard surface road, everything's good. That's my opinion.
Commissioners, any more comments? Doug sort of summed it up for
I would
me.
like to have their barn.
You can't have their barn.
I wouldn't have horses in it, but
Mike, you have anything on this?
horsepower anyways in it.
Jeff?
Oh, no, very supportive. This reflects our rural culture of our county, and I think it's a
Jeff or
great
Vicki,
thing.
anything on this?
Yeah, I haven't had any negative.
I'll be positive. Okay, in that case, I take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Made that easy. Okay, any other comments? Not, I'll call the roll.
Commissioners, before you
Yeah.
vote, if you could, in your motion, if you could include the actual resolution
Yeah.
number rather than.
Oh,
Nice try, Vicki.
motion to approve Resolution 2022-09, a special use permit for Wonderland Farms.
Second.
Motion second. Commissioner, there's no more. Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Ducksmith?
Aye.
I think it's a good fit. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you ever need anything, just call us. I don't know if we can give it to you, but we'll always be here to listen.
Mike's pretty good at cleaning out stalls.
We used to have horses. I used to have Arabians and quarter horses, so I can clean out stalls.
Okay, let's move on. Consider a motion to approve Resolution 2022-10, a special use permit for Rancho Andazolo, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and an event venue.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request to approve Resolution 2022-10. This is a special use permit for Rancho Andazolo, which is an event venue. It is located off 2440 Highway. We have sent this over to KDOT for them to review. They've reviewed it. They don't have any comments regarding the entrance. There was some questions about whether or not that entrance would be sufficient from our Planning Commission, but again, KDOT did not require any additional, anything changed there. They're proposing to operate the event venue out of an existing 10,000 square foot accessory structure that has been remodeled. The building has 2 bathrooms and 4 points of egress. The applicant is proposing to hold events for up to 250 guests. There will be no outdoor storage or activities being proposed. The applicants they understand that they will need to have a gravel parking lot installed on their property within the next year. If this is approved, that's a condition that staff has set forth. The Planning Commission voted 9-0 to recommend approval of this. Mrs. Andazola is here and will answer any questions that you may have as well.
Go ahead, Mike.
This isn't really on this, but it's on all of our event venues, and I did come in and talk to Kyle yesterday about the issue. When we're talking about safety, like what the plan is for if there's a tornado or a storm in these event venues, are we requiring them to have some kind of a written plan for that?
Yes, that is a written plan has always been a requirement. Mr. Magaha, he provides a memo stating what needs to take place, and that's made part of the conditions. And one of those things is that they have an emergency plan, and they put up a placard that has emergency numbers to be called, obviously in the event that there is something that takes place.
And does he have those on file? Does he keep a? Okay,
Yes.
That's all I had.
I went down and visited the site also. Very nice building. The driveway, you have plenty of sight distance coming out on the state highway. Packed county traffic, man. You've been by, it's right there by Cantrell.
I've driven by there, yeah.
It's nice. I think it's good.
It's a nice area.
Good location, looks nice. Very supportive of this.
Mike, anybody else? Any commissioners? Jeff, do you have anything on it?
Nope.
I thought it looked fine. Okay, so I bring up a motion. The whole motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2022-10, a special use permit for Rancho Andazola and Event Center.
I'll
venue.
second that.
Did I pronounce that right?
I'm sorry. I hope I didn't destroy it. Okay, motion
Close.
and a second. Any more discussion?
Close.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Ducksmith?
Aye.
All right, very good.
Thank you for all you do.
All right, good to go.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You come up to... I'm sorry.
I think I can answer that.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is consider a motion to award bid for Converge 1 for the server virtualization project in an amount not to exceed $203,749.95. Good morning.
Morning.
Larry,
Morning.
how are you doing today?
Great.
You look very chipper. Very chipper.
Roger,
Excited
good
to be here.
2 techies today.
Excited to see these projects come up. So you mentioned server virtualization, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, this is part of a variety of projects that you may recall from previous work session and so forth. This is virtualizing all the servers in the courthouse, not future servers that may exist in the Cushing. Part of the reason this is being done or requested now is because of the time it's been taking to get some of the processes to happen with the ARPA projects. My servers down there are getting older and older as time ticks by, and I need to do something with them, and I don't want to replace them with the physical servers that they were when we're looking at doing them virtualized in the future. So this is breaking the 2 data centers apart and dealing with the courthouse servers now prior to the fiber. The other project, you may remember, the fiber loop had to happen first before we could do any of the Cushing-related stuff, health department and so forth. Well, that project is not completed, and I don't want to continue waiting for the fiber and all the rest of it and wait for a server to fail. So we tried to break it in half.
this server center down here in the courthouse. We'll take care of all the servers I've got downstairs. And then later, we would be moving over some servers from the Justice Center into this environment and then requesting to do the the high availability disaster recovery server farm down at the Cushing building. So that's why this is before you. So this is kind of half of a bigger piece. You'll be hearing about this again later, a second one just like this. That said, I picked Converge 1 for a variety. Was it Converge 1? Let's make sure I'm getting it right. ISG, and not Converge 1. With their equipment, it seems to be a good fit for what we're doing. I'm ready to answer questions if you have any on this particular topic. I even brought Roger along today in case you really try to stump us with some doozies.
Well, I read through it, but I don't have any questions. I couldn't wait to get that, put that down and get to the economic development portion. It was more interesting.
I'm sure it was.
That's bad.
He's not saying you're
Well,
boring.
I'm glad to see you being
telling you.
proactive and getting this taken care of before there's any.
That's exactly right.
Right. No,
And that pretty much answered any question I had. I was just confused on it.
Well,
Commissioners, just as a reminder, what this does is it allows for a, I don't want to say a redundancy yet, but it will in the future have a redundancy, but for a higher bandwidth, more stable environment, much more secure long-term, which is why we're using the ARPA funds that allows for also remote work.
yes.
Okay.
And if you're an environmentally oriented person, this is going to use less electricity and all these other wonderful, environmental. When you virtualize, it's consolidated down to less equipment, so less electrical usage, less heat, so the air conditioner works easier down there. It's an insignificant amount of money,
More
but
carbon
it
credits.
is better than the old way of doing it.
Well, we should be able to get carbon credits then.
More carbon credits.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
That's awesome.
Concerns?
None.
Okay. Our motion.
One down.
Which one are we doing?
Virtual.
First one.
Make sure that's ISG, I think.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
typo,
wrong on
and
the
then
page. It should be IS.
It should be ISG, the amount.
Right, that's why I was looking at it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It caught me off guard too.
Okay. So, motion to approve the request by IT,
ISG.
to go with ISG in the amount not to exceed $203,749.95.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Coverson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner.
Aye.
All right. Okay.
Painless.
Consider a motion to award bid for CNC Group for the wireless network project, in the amount not to exceed $43,500.
Okay, this is another ARPA-related project that was discussed before. This is part of the wireless network that will encompass virtually all county buildings. It'll be used by county departments as well as the public. They'll have public Wi-Fi. We were going with CNC with the Extreme Networks equipment. I listed in the report why we chose them. We're ready to answer any questions about the wireless network we'd like to put in place. And I really apologize for being IT. I know it's
I
not
like
near as
IT.
much
Don't
fun.
apologize for yourself.
It's not near as much fun up here as some of the other topics.
I agree.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but you get it by us so quick because we don't want to ask you something.
I do tend to get out of here fast. Yes.
Okay.
I like the IT. So,
Any questions?
It's important if something goes wrong with
Yeah,
IT.
Right.
We all want it.
That's very
When it
important.
goes down.
Ask Wyandotte County.
Wyandotte County.
Yeah, nobody's happy when it doesn't go right, and it can
Yeah.
be disastrous when it
Working right,
doesn't,
we
so.
just take everything for
My heart
granted.
goes out to their IT.
Oh, my
people right
gosh.
Yeah, I've been
now.
following
They're
that. That's a
deep in the
nightmare.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Okay. Okay, to get a motion?
I move, Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the bid to CNC Group for the wireless network project in the amount not to exceed $43,500.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Steben?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Okay. All right, number 3. Consider a motion to award bid to Coverage 1 for the firewall upgrade project in amount not to exceed $80,411.26.
We definitely need the firewall.
The final one here.
Actually,
That's a biggie.
The firewall. Yes, this is replacing our aging firewall devices. This is part of the work session that was discussed as well. Perimeter security, very important. It's the first line of defense against all the little hackers and other jackwagons that are trying to do nasty things to us.
Are those technical terms?
Yes. Hackers was, I guess. The rest is on my own rhetoric.
Okay, take a motion.
Motion to award bid to Coverage 1 for the firewall upgrade project in the amount not to exceed $80,411.26.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Commissioner Steben?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
All right.
And we'll get you that
Stay where you
26 cents in there, too.
Well, you know,
Okay,
I
we're
hate to
moving
fall
right.
short.
Okay.
Stay where you are.
Stay comfortable.
Quarterly report coming up next?
Yes.
Yeah,
Excellent.
don't try to leave.
Don't
I
leave.
looked at the agenda and I thought I had a pause between the two.
We
It looks like
can probably pay for this out of an email I opened up this morning. A guy in India said he had a bunch of money for me. I'm waiting for it to completely
As long as you
download.
send that
And you clicked on
I
it.
hope you followed the link quickly.
It's downloading right now. I'll check it when we get there.
You gave him the bank account included?
Yep.
Good job, Jeff.
Give him the
Limited
county
time
bank.
off.
Congratulations.
It's appreciated.
Oh,
Should be
man.
just about done.
I've really lost control of this meeting, so we'll try to move on. Presentation, discussion items, information system, quarterly report. Have at it, young man.
Good morning.
Good morning again.
The projects, I could go over the call manager upgrade, which was part of this ARPA stuff. That has been completed. The Cisco Duo multi-factor authentication, which some of you have probably been subjected to by now. That's been completed as well. That was part of the security measures. The fiber optic cable project that I spoke of just a little while ago, the bid documents were released last week. They're published now. The bids will close on May 26th. My original estimate that I told you about 3 or 4 months ago obviously was overly optimistic. I was deeply wrong. Commissioner Smith was correct. It's going to take a lot longer to get some of these things moving than I had hoped. I had mentioned April, the end of April, and you kind of got a chuckle out of it that, yeah, that seems awful ambitious. Well, it was awful ambitious, and it was wrong. So we're looking at, if I can get the board to award a good bid in June, maybe they can start work in July
This year?
this year.
Oh, okay.
The bids will close on May 26th, absolutely. So that's fact.
You better,
For that
hope,
part,
you better
I mean-
hope you get some bids.
So I'm hoping we get some good bids. We're having a pre-bid meeting tomorrow at 1. So that'll be some indication if we get several companies to arrive for that we've got some interest. I've already had a couple people pestering me with phone calls, so I know that they're out there, and I'm hoping we're going to get a lot of good bids so that we can get a really good price. That's one of my biggest concerns is what they're going to come in at because it's such a pivotal piece of all these other projects. The wireless network, we already dealt with those 3 RVAs. And I would mention that I'm looking at an intercom solution for the Cushing building, which seems to be working out rather well. I bought a test unit, and I've been playing with that. I think that's going to work out nicely for them, and the sheriff's office is interested in possibly looking at the same equipment for some intercom needs that they have over there. So, other than that, I'm ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners?
You at least have one for Roger. I mean, I made him come up here today. Is there anything?
Welcome, Roger.
Welcome,
How's it
Roger.
going across the
How about
road
the county
there?
attorneys?
How's it going across the road? Everything going smoothly for you?
I think everything's going okay over there.
Good.
In the report, Larry did mention the situation with the county attorney's case management system.
Right.
We've had it in place since, I think, 2005, and that vendor is no longer going to be, they're going to be sunsetting that product, and they're not coming out with a replacement. They're basically getting out of that
field of their system. So they've got a case management system that they're going to have to replace, and so we have discussions from time to time with Mr. Thompson and about what they'd be looking at and what they might need. So,
Any ballpark on that cost?
I don't know at this time.
It's
I think
gonna
that's
be
what
very
Todd
expensive.
is looking into to get some kind of idea
That doesn't
for
sound cheap.
possible budget
Definitely 6
considerations.
figures.
It's going to be very expensive.
So a lot of those
Probably
systems are
nothing with the court system's going to be.
a lot of those systems
Always
are
gonna be
cloud-based now. So I don't know whether it's a subscription model or you buy a one-time license and maintenance like they have now or what. But anyway, it's something still being investigated.
It's just our understanding that there is no funds being socked away for this eventuality, so this was a warning of future conversations you might be subjected to. Just letting you know that this is lurking under the water and you'll probably be getting a visit.
Under the water?
It might have to be like the federal government, start printing some money.
Well,
Or go back to carbon copies.
There's a little
and
periscope
everybody-
coming up there.
We still got some old file cabinets.
on that note, you're thinking next fiscal year, most likely.
2023.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the answer we're looking for. Thank you.
That would be my.
You're lucky.
I'd
I
say
can't
this
speak
is.
for Mr. Thompson. That's my
You're lucky.
understanding.
I'd say this is a budget kickoff thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I think their software will continue to be supported. They haven't officially sunset it yet. We're trying to get a date out of the company, but
Well, we're trying to do more than that. We're actually trying to get the company to reduce their yearly maintenance based on the premise that they're not supporting the product and there's going to be no updates. And
Right.
It's expensive anyway. They want $18,000 for a year of maintenance on a product they're abandoning. And so I'm trying to negotiate some kind of a
That makes
reduction.
sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ridiculous way to part, with that kind of a premium.
in this economy, he's
Yeah.
probably not going to be successful.
Probably not, but we're pitching. Roger sent him a nicely worded email the other day
You'd
to
be
start
lucky if
that
you don't get an
conversation.
increase.
Yeah, maybe if you're really nice, they'll agree to that.
I didn't send the email. I wanted a chance for success, so I asked Roger to please find a way to say what I just said nicer
Thank you
and
for
send
bringing
that
this
to
to our
him.
attention here. $2,000 annual increase.
Right.
That was probably a good way to do
Are
it.
there any state funds that go towards helping the various counties when they're doing updating these
attorney's
case
office?
management systems? Like, are there any grant money from the state or appropriated money from the state?
I'm not aware of it. Mr. Thompson may be. He's ear to the ground on that kind of stuff more than me. I'm just more on the technical side.
Now, Public Works does a great job of getting us grants. We want you guys.
We need to get Bill up here.
We want you guys to look at those things real hard too, especially with the number I'm afraid he's going to be.
There is two that the National Associations of County had been talking about, SLTT grants, and then another one. I'd mentioned it in, I think, the last quarterly report. I forget what the other one's called. Mark had brought one of them to my attention. However, I've been monitoring every week. I got a calendar reminder. Go check on these things. And I can't find any movement from. They talk about a grant that's going to happen, and the Homeland Security is working on the proposal, process and all this, and then months will
That's
go
not
by,
unusual.
and you hear nothing. So I don't know if it's ever going to really happen.
Oh, it's your federal government.
But we're keeping an eye out for it. Those are two that would go to IT-related things.
Look at the Federal Registry.
But it could be the same things that we're looking at ARPA, which would then free up ARPA funds and so forth.
Yeah.
So we are trying to find these two grants. Hopefully they will move. One's going to be hosted or managed by the state, so I'm waiting for the state to release something. It says, here's the application process, anything.
They'll probably let us know and then give us 30 days to respond and then take 6 months to.
And then even
Because they've already decided who's getting it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's already
As
been
they, try,
earmarked.
the answer.
as they try to figure out how to give it to
Right.
one county.
Yeah, that's,
Administrative overhead.
Is that group that we've talked with? Is it McIntyre? They help to get ARPA funding.
Federal funding they'll work on.
Right, I
But
don't
this
know.
running through the
Federal.
state, that wouldn't be one that they would assist with.
That's the company that you hired to work with grants?
That's only for federal.
That's why I said just keep good.
Oh, the
look at
SLTT
Federal
is
Registry
federal,
to
isn't
see
it?
what there's out
It's going to
there
be
on
like
that.
federal
Once it's-
pass-through money that goes through the state? No.
Once they release it, we'll know more, and we can work with them to help write any application.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Good seeing you, Roger.
Commissioners, before you consider the executive session, it's my understanding that the Andazolas had a question about their SUP that they wanted to come back up and discuss. Is that correct, Crystal?
Commissioners, Mrs. Andazola had originally requested that they be able to operate until 2 a.m. Staff's recommendation was 11 p.m., but that is in keeping with other event barns throughout the county. The Planning Commission also supported 11 p.m., but Mrs. Andazola would like to come and ask if you would reconsider that particular condition and extend their operating hours past 11 p.m. I believe Mrs. Andazola was hoping for maybe even 1 a.m.
This is all indoor event. There's nothing outside, correct? According
No,
to
it is
that.
not.
It's all going to be indoors.
I don't know, my granny almost told me nothing no good happens after midnight.
I thought of that too. That's what my grandma said too.
Okay, Commissioner, what do you think?
I like to be consistent, but is there a specific need? You have events that tend to go long.
We do. Usually bands, especially in Hispanic culture, they go to 1 or 2 in the morning, so they have their contract until that time. That's especially weddings and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
family events.
I've seen some Latin weddings and they get kind of wild.
The neighbors love it. We have some neighbors that come down and they're like, "Can we join?"
Does the
You got to invite the county commissioners.
Of course, yes, anytime.
Do you have a question?
I don't have a problem with that.
no? I mean, there's not a house next door real close or anything. They're
Okay.
spread out.
Well, do we
And
want?
they're off the road. I mean, they're not right on the highway.
Right.
They're off the highway a little bit.
I have no problem making an exception, Jeff.
Yeah, that's something we can modify if it becomes
If
a
it becomes
It
a
becomes a
problem,
problem,
it'd be part of
then
the condition.
Yeah.
You might hear back from us.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't cause any issues, it should be fine.
Do we need to amend
Under the
the?
motion.
David.
It'd be appropriate to make a motion to amend the condition regarding hours of operations to extend the time to 1 a.m.
Motion to amend the conditions for the special use permit from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m.
I'll
on the
second.
Wonderland Farms? I mean, not that.
Mhm.
What? No, not
That's
that.
good.
Yep. That's not
We
Wonderland.
got a
though. It's
second?
I
what's the
second.
name of the
Okay, any
venue?
more discussion?
Commissioners, I think
I need the
Just-
name of
just
the
to be
venue. I had it wrong.
clear and also careful on this, that you're
We're gonna
granting an
ask
exception
others.
to what has been a standard enforced throughout the county. So I think that you could expect that this would be in the future, going forward, this would be an exception that, or an expectation that any of these event centers
As long as they're
will
indoors.
As long
ask
as they're indoors.
and request. So just be aware of that. Be cognizant of today's decision may impact existing SUP holders and anybody in the future.
And the other thing is, though, these are each individual. They are not necessarily setting precedent. So
And if it's a
It's
problem, they can come back, correct, and be readdressed.
I would say our
We
policy
didn't have
doesn't
any,
change.
you had no complaints on this by the
Exception.
No, we did not. No. We just need to make very specifically clear that this is indoors only, that nothing can spill
Over outside.
And it's an
over
exception.
outside. This is,
We're not going to change it for everybody necessarily.
In other words, we don't want you coming back in, so we're going to keep it running smooth for us, so I guess what we're saying. Any more comments? Okay, we got a motion and a second already? Have we?
Yes.
I
Yes,
know.
we do.
I know, Mark. Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Cos?
still think midnight's better, but aye.
You see aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We'll update
You
that
ready to go?
resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you
Thank
guys
you.
are welcome anytime.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. But Mark is correct. We take each one as face value, but we'll probably see some more of these coming
We'll
back.
get some people requesting to change theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, ready to go into executive session? Somebody want to do that? And how much time do we need?
How many for, Jeff?
I can get my part done in 10 minutes.
So 10:15?
That'll work.
That'd be good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that this board recess from open session and go into closed executive session for preliminary discussion on the acquisition of real property as justified by KSA 75-4319B6, and that this board resume open session in the meeting room at 10:15.
Yeah.
Present in the executive session will be Commissioners Culberson, Cos, Doug Smith, Mike Smith, Stephen. Present also will be County Administrator Mark Lafferty and Senior County Councilor Dave Van Paris.
I second it. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Cos?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner
Aye.
Smith? Commissioner Stevens? Okay.
Let the record show that the board is returning to regular session at 10:15. No decisions were made. Discussion was limited to real property acquisition.
Next thing we have, before we go into that, we need to, I'm going to work session. Yeah, we go through our thing. Mike, do you have anything for the group?
Well, just a couple things. We were at the meeting last week, 46th Annual County Commissioners Spring Conference, and a couple items that I thought I'd highlight. One thing was Jay Hall, the Deputy Director and General Counsel, came up and congratulated us for being able to get the tornado relief through, and he said that they worked on it, and interestingly enough, they had originally been taking a different position, and they changed their position, and we were able to get it through, and I really appreciate their help.
That's Kansas Association of Counties.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we had on Thursday, and there's a lot of things. We're going to get the PowerPoints, and if anybody wants the PowerPoints, you can look at from all these different breakout sessions. But one of the things that on Thursday they talked about property values, levies, and taxes. David Harper, Director of Property Valuation, was the speaker, and we asked him a lot of questions. There was a lot of interest on property taxes, believe it or not, at the meeting, and one of the things that was covered was the role of the commissions as related to overseeing the office of the appraiser as opposed to the property valuation division and their role overseeing. And it was made very clear that it is the rules, regulations of the property valuation division that governs the office across the hall, the appraiser's office. The county commission's role is to appoint a appraiser that is on a list being qualified. And we have a very qualified appraiser, and he's following the rules. And if you want to change the rules, then you got to go to Topeka and the legislature. And I was very glad in today's Tonganoxie Mirror, I was happy that they printed I put an article on with questions and answers, and it answers all these things about whose responsibility it is as far as the hiring the appraiser, setting the valuations, and then part of this was talking about ag land values. They also had the lady that is in charge of that office. She talked about that, and it's a very complex formula.
On the 8-year average?
Yeah, she went over exactly how it's done, and there is a lot of public financing expended in order to identify each parcel and determine how much this is going to be. And we asked a question about how much public money this costs the taxpayers to administer this system, and he didn't know what his budget was, which was interesting.
Must be pretty big.
So
obviously doesn't worry about going over budget.
So, the system needs to be
Tweaked?
Yeah, it needs to be changed. And Jeff pointed out, or Commissioner Culberson pointed out to me when this was all started, the amount of money that it cost.
Trillions. The state's spent
Because-
trillions on reappraisal.
Tell them what you said that they came in and
Yeah, you know, in 1990 when we went through reappraisal, the whole point was the state looked across the state and said every county is not keeping everybody up to current market value. So reappraisal was born. The first thing they had to do was aerial photography for every single county. Back then, Leavenworth County spent $300,000 on just aerial photography. Then we hired a company to pull every single deed out of the Register of Deeds office and remap every single parcel. So I think part of the reluctance in fixing the problem is you're saying this system that the state has spent trillions of dollars on isn't working. I think that's part of the issue.
and they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, as we've seen from our constituents, and we've heard that over time it's not sustainable because you will be putting folks out of their home because they can't pay their taxes, and we've got to change it. So I hope this meeting that we're, and Mark said the meeting date preliminary.
That date's not going to work.
Oh, okay.
So.
So anyway, they're working on this meeting date, and I hope that we can get everybody to the table and talk about this and consider what are the things that can be done together, working together. It shouldn't be finger pointing between the legislators and the local government. It should everybody work together to get this changed.
It needs to be changed.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think our role as trying to educate everybody on this is working out pretty well.
I think it's getting out there.
You know, just like what they were talking about, if you really want to think about it, 80% of our county is agricultural land. That means our county appraiser doesn't even appraise 80% of the land in our county because the state hands him what those values are. He calculates how many acres you have and what soil type and what productivity group, but then he just applies the state formula. So there's a lot going on that people just don't really understand how it works.
Mike, do you have anything else?
And one of these, the same meeting, this Zoe Gear, she's the agricultural use evaluation coordinator. She's in charge of that department
And she's been there since the 90s.
Yeah.
She's been there a long time.
Yeah.
And it's anyway, I think we are getting the message out, but I think it's some people, you know, and I talked to my wife about this. I visit with her a lot, and she said when people are writing a check, it's very difficult for them to think rationally. So you have to get past that part and then say, hey, let's talk about what the actual system is. And I think we're getting there.
I think we have to. Jeff?
I just had the town hall meeting with you the other night, and then also last night spoke on Zoom to the Rural Leavenworth Inc. group and went over things like taxation and the mill levies, and also there was a lot of questions about the 152 bridge project. That's about it.
Let's see, mental health task force yesterday, and then last week I had the Kansas Area Transit Authority meeting. That's a long meeting. It's about a 4-hour meeting, just so you know. And we have.
You feel your pain. Go ahead.
And then I have coming up another meeting for the. They're going to be having a, what do they call it, planning for the future type thing that they're going to be doing. And then I have a kneecap meeting tomorrow.
You're busy. Okay, just a couple for me. One of the things that Mike didn't touch on is they made a mistake and let me ask a question at the conference, and one of the things we talked about was demand transfers. And so there's 100 people in there, and I can tell you, from when it led to one question, when I brought it up, even around our table, two of the people, the five at our table alone, didn't know what I was talking about. So when I asked the question, Mike was there to follow up on some of the other ones, it got them asking questions out there with our other 100 county commissioners. So at least the word got out there. And then it got to the people that were presenting the thing who really were trying to say, didn't want to, because we asked the flat question, why didn't it come up? Politics, blah, blah, blah. At one time, the hall person said that they were going to bring it up just to get it started So even though their thing was to dismiss it and say, take the law off the books. Well, that's not what the other. And then they made this. And then to me, they made the comment was, well, some of the people in the audience, the presenters, said some of the people in the audience didn't want to do it because they take it away from someday. Again, to me, that is one of the lamest excuses ever. I told them, I said, put it back on the books. Let us start getting our funding back, and then we can deal with that when it comes up. And so they backed down. But what that initiated is like y'all have been doing up here for a few years. It's got the questions out in front of people I didn't even know. So if nothing else, once it was said, but I was really surprised, I probably shouldn't have been, that a lot of the new county commissioners didn't recognize what that was.
Yep.
I was really surprised on that. The other thing is, I don't know if you folks talked about last week, but in our packet this time, there was a couple young men that got their earned the rank of Eagle rank. And I don't know if y'all talked about that last week or not, but there was Robert Chard, I'm sorry that I'm saying the name wrong, and Essa Lozoya, and I just wanted to recognize them. The county commissioners will be signing a letter to acknowledge what they did and say we're very proud of what they did.
And they're having an event, aren't they, on, was it the
I can't
May
remember this. I can't remember what it
26th?
was.
Sometime in May, I think.
Yeah, but very tell them we recognize
It's
that
May
that's
now.
not an easy thing to do. And with that, I'll pass it on to Doug.
Just attended Bayshore City Council last week and Fairmount Township Board meeting. Fairmount Township will be holding the budget work session on June 15th, and I do plan to attend that. That's all I got.
Just one follow-up comment to what Commissioner Mike Smith said. There is some groups, Kansas Policy Institute, I think, and some different groups that, when it comes to demand transfers, they're saying that, well, you're giving this demand transfer back, you give this money back to the counties, but you're not, they might not spend it on property tax relief. But I think certainly the legislators are the
required.
ones that are making the law and appropriating the funds. They could tie that
It
to
is tied
us.
to that.
It is.
It already is.
And we brought that.
Well, that's what the argument is.
But
that
it
they're
is
making.
already tied
And that
to
was a good
that.
thing, though, because I gave Mike and I the chance to say, well, this is what it is. In fact, my last thing I said was, if you're not going to abide by it, get it off the books, but quit dragging this down the road. This is the law, follow the law. And I think when that was all said, the thing kind of changed, Mike, because people are saying, look like I'm going back to my hometown and county and see. If nothing else, folks, we got it out there to a lot of county commissioners that weren't familiar with it.
Did you tell
I
them?
have one more
As
thing.
long as we have.
Yeah.
Did you tell them we passed a resolution in Leavenworth County to guarantee?
I don't know if we
that
told them we
would
passed
spend
a
it on
resolution,
that?
but we were telling them we were
What
pushing
you
it.
said was, we can guarantee you we all will do it.
But it's
So it was
property
said.
tax relief.
Yeah,
But the
bottom line is
legislators-
the law.
I have one more thing.
They could put a stipulation that the money doesn't go back to the county unless you spend it on property tax relief. And we're
That's
fine with that.
I think that's pretty much the way the law, you could interpret the law
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
That was a
But that was
lousy.
their argument.
That was a lousy excuse to say that, and I think that after we got through with them, they won't bring that up again. Did you have something in this?
Yeah, I also just to report out that Lisa Hack
Oh,
has been selected
yeah.
by the Leavenworth Development Corporation to serve as the new executive director, and I was very pleased to hear that announcement, and I want to congratulate Lisa publicly for that
Congratulate her
accomplishment.
too. I thought it was
I think
all
that-
overdue.
I think we all been saying the same thing when they were looking. You got the person right there in front of you, so I'm glad it worked out for her. I think she'll do a great job. She'll grow into it.
And I think she will work well together with
With Tom,
Tom,
yes.
yeah.
and she's just a great person.
She
I,
is.
I really think that's
She
a
is.
great deal.
I'm excited about how that we're going to be able to work together with them. Okay, any more otherwise?
Just like when folks were talking about demand transfers, taxes, following the law, this revenue neutral thing that they want the counties to follow, the state doesn't follow
I know
the
it.
revenue
Oh,
neutral
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, they should have to follow too.
So,
That was brought up too. Jeff and I heard that, but we're not far off. It's exactly right. But it was one Jeff and I went to, and that was a good meeting. It had about 80 and 90 people, and I think it overall was pretty well received on what the county's doing out here. Had a lot of positive comments afterwards. In fact, it took a while to get out the door. So I think the message is getting out there, and I just was pleased the way it was handled. And Jeff, of course, did a good job with the facts. I entertained him, but Jeff did a good job with the facts.
you were the opening.
Yeah.
You opened and he
I kind of finished it.
dancing
Anyway,
But back to what you were talking about on demand transfers and that. It's right. The commissioners have changed, and it just.
I'm really
just
surprised how bad it was.
You know, when you look how long Jeff's been here and how long you've been involved. We're probably a pretty unusual group as far as years. Like I said, today is 40 years ago today I started here at Leavenworth County.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So, I don't know if congratulations are
Sorry. Really sorry.
We're glad you're still here.
Do we hold a wake or what?
What does it say, sayonara?
You survived 40 years.
I survived 40 years here.
Okay.
Didn't think I'd live to be that old.
I mean, I didn't either, especially if you're staying out past 12. If I get a motion to adjourn.
Commissioners, one thing, Commissioner,
yeah.
before I just wanted to say thank you for understanding me being the need for me to be gone last week. Moved my son Wyatt to Illinois to Scott Air Force Base,
That's
where he's
cool.
starting his career as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And
Congratulations
we're very
to him.
proud of him.
Fantastic, Mark.
And I'm hoping I don't have to move him all the other moves that he has to make.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless he goes to Germany, then I'm in.
Military brat.
I will say the meeting was shorter.
I'm sure you're very proud of him.
That was because Mike and Jeff were gone, I think.
Well, that's true.
That's probably because Commissioner Cos was in the
I
chair.
Pretty tight shit. I'm telling you, you used 4 words instead of 8.
Congratulations, Mark. That's great.
Thank you.
That advice. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Cons?
Aye.
Culberson?
Aye.
I'm losing. Smith? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
All right.